A strong speaker or writer captures his or her audience by taking them on a trip. But creating a coherent speech structure, story, and keeping the audience involved may be a little challenging. If you want to share a good story, use these 8 storytelling methods. Number 1, monomyth. A monomyth, also known as the hero's quest, can be seen in stories of heroes and superheroes and mythologies. In a monomyth, with a single plot line, the central character steps out of his or her known world, struggles, learns valuable skills and lessons, overcomes the struggle and comes back to the known world to bring a change. An example of monomyth is The Lion King. I'm sure many of you have already watched this movie. The second is the mountain. The mountain is typically seen in TV series or serials, or also on Netflix series or Amazon Prime series. All these series, they have usually the mountain structure. It holds the tension and carries the action in a plot. In such plots, the things get better and then suddenly a problem comes. After this problem is solved and the things seem to get better, another problem comes on the way. The action keeps rising until the climax. A major difference between the mountain and monomyth is that the mountain may not have a happy ending. You can also use nested loops. The strategy is called nested loop because you may provide 3 or 4 storylines per part of the story. The main story stays in the center. It starts first and ends last. But around this story, there are many stories that help elaborate the core message of the main story. These other stories end before the main story ends. You can use it while talking about how someone's life story helped you overcome a problem. Here, your story is the central one with the core message. There are also sparklines. The sparklines have been the talk of the town after Nancy Duarte used her graphic design skills to analyze various successful speeches. In sparklines, the speaker shows the reality and points out the challenges the listeners face. Then the speaker inspires the crowd to take action and shows the positive scenario when the action is taken. The most commonly given example of this is the speech "I Have a Dream" by Martin Luther King Jr. If you have not watched it, I would request you to pause this video right here and go and watch it. It's really a wonderful presentation, a wonderful speech. There are also converging ideas. It is used to talk about successful moments or partnerships. It shows the audience how some different strands of ideas come together to form something bigger and greater. The difference between the converging ideas and the nested loop strategy is that unlike the nested loops, where a central story is complemented by other stories, the converging ideas have several equally important stories that come to a single strong conclusion. There are also false start. A false start, as the name itself suggests, is starting the story with a false storyline. A predictable storyline that unexpectedly ends and disrupts audience expectations. It is when the speaker links to the main storyline. Since the speaker tears apart the false sense of security and predictability, the audience feel in the first storyline or false start, they become very attentive for the details and messages in the main storyline. It is a great way to talk about the lessons you learn from failures and discovered a new and creative way to deal with the crisis. There's also something called in medias res. In medias res means into the middle of a narrative. It is a very good strategy for short stories where you want to grab attention of the audience. Here the speaker starts the story in the middle, tells an interesting or shocking part of it, and then goes back to timeline and explains how it started and how does it end. You can also use the petal structure. Just like many beautiful petals come together to make a flower, multiple unconnected or slightly connected stories can be told to support the core message and to convey the importance of the core message and action.